This is Amy Chan from CakeDecoratingSchool.com, and if you like cake decorating, you're in the right place. In this video, we'll be making a daffodil-themed cupcake set. It's broken down into steps so you can skip ahead, rewind, and rewatch as desired. We're going to make several colors for this cupcake project, and I'm using all American-style buttercream. You could use Swiss or Italian meringue if you like. And we're using the following liquid gel colors: Sunset Orange, Royal Blue, Violet, Lemon Yellow, and finally, some Buckeye Brown. To start with, we're making a nice shade of golden yellow. So I've got some yellow and a little bit of that brown out on a lid, and I'm just going to use some little specks with my toothpick. I just want to make a nice soft shade of yellow and give it that nice kind of warm feel. It's not a lot on the brown or the yellow even. But lemon yellow has almost that kind of bright, slightly electric feel to it. We're not making a lot of color, so you just want to use little specks. And that brown will give it a nice kind of warm, almost like golden wheat kind of color to it. It's not enough to actually make it brown, but it just kind of gives it that soft, slightly muted vibe that gives it a bit of, I feel like, an antique kind of feel. Next, we're going to make some orange, and we're going to do the same thing we did with our yellow. Just a few small specks of that orange, nice, soft, kind of creamsicle-like color, and just a little kind of hint of that brown, just to give it that same vibe. Beautiful. Up next is some purple, and I've got some violet out here as well. We're going to continue with our nice soft shades. So just a few specks of that purple and same little speck of brown. Really get that purple up there. Sometimes purple, it's a little too light, it can read a little gray. So you want to go with just a little more color on the purple if needed. I'm going to start out light because I want it to have the same kind of feel and look as my other colors. It's looking good. I think just a little more of my purple, and that should be perfect. There we go. We've got a beautiful, soft purple shade. Our final color is going to be some mossy green. I'm going to start with just a little bit of royal blue, more of my lemon. Just want it to be kind of heavier on that yellow than it is on the blue. And again, a nice little bit of brown. And this one, I'm going to go with a little extra, a little heavier on the brown. I want it to have that kind of mossy, earthy vibe to it. And you can always start with less brown if you're a little scared to put that much in, and add more as you need to. And that's looking lovely. For this project, we are using 6 bags. Ours are all disposable, but you can use whatever kind you want. So if you've got some great silicone ones, break them out. Our first one is for yellow, and you can see we've used a coupler because we're going to use a 104 and a 101. Our second has some of our green in it. We're also using a coupler, and we'll be using a 352, a number 2, a number 3. We've loaded the bulk of our green into a bag with an 806 tip. So this is a large decorator size round tip. You can see our purple is in a bag with a Russian tip, and this is a tulip Russian tip. You can see it's got layers of little openings and those little dots in the center. They're going to give us like little tiny stamens in there in the middle of this tulip. This one doesn't have a number, so I just want to make sure I show you the opening. Just grab something similar to this. We've also striped this bag with a little extra white and our purple, and we've got some yellow and green down in the center. And if you're wondering how I did this, you can watch our video on bag striping, in which we have a section on just how to stripe bags like this for our Russian tips. We have 2 bags of orange, one with just a little bit in it that has a number 1 tip, and a second with the remainder that has a 125. In preparation for our work today, we've taken 4 of our cupcakes and crumb coated them, and the other 2, we've done a plain tip swirl with our green and that 806 tip. And if you want to see how to do these, you can check out our video on 5 basic ways to decorate a cupcake that includes our little bonus crumb coating style we're using here today in preparation for piping flowers on them. We're going to review the techniques we're going to use for our daffodil cupcake set now. And if you want an in-depth tutorial on the daffodil, we have one of those in our flower series, so you can go over and check that out if you feel like maybe you're missing a few of the finer points, but we're just going to do a light review here of the techniques we use on our daffodil. So first, diamond shaped petals. We're using our 104 and our 101 for these, and you want to remember just to slide that tip along those points. We're going to rotate either our nail or a cupcake right when we hit that point. So just remember to draw a diamond shape with that outside edge, and that'll give you those beautiful diamond-shaped petals. For the trumpets in the middle of our flowers, those kind of fluted, beautiful inside petals that look like cups, I'm going to use our 125 and our 101. And you want to remember, fat end is going to make contact with the surface, and the skinny end is going to point straight up for us. And we're just going to squeeze and gently wriggle up and down as we go. And since we'll be turning our nail, we can lay this little kind of line that sticks straight up in a circle, and it's going to have a little wriggle to it and a little texture if we do that. We're going to also make a little mound in the center of our daffodil, and this one's just going to be a dot with our number 3 tip. So like all dots, above the surface, squeeze, let it balloon out nice and big, and then finish it off. This is a good one to practice your finish on your dots because it's going to get covered up and you won't really see it. But we just want to get a nice full dot with that number 3, and that's going to provide a little bit of support for that trumpet. We're going to use some spikes for stamens, and these are just going to get piped right on top of our dot. And just think about making dots and then pulling up while you're still squeezing. And if you do these all close together, they'll become kind of self-supporting, and they're also going to help support our trumpet because it's going to give us a little extra height on that frosting there in the middle and help keep it standing up for us. We're going to do a little zigzag line with our number 1 tip. For this one, we just want to be off at 45 degrees, and you want to think about drawing a nice wiggling, kind of waving, oscillating line like that, except we're going to do it really tiny. And we're just going on the top edge of our trumpet and just making a little wiggle. And that's going to give us that kind of ruffled, fluted edge to the top of our trumpet. For our leaves, we're using our number 352. Just think about holding it 45 degrees, touch with one of the points, other one's going to point straight up for us, and we're going to squeeze, let them build up, and on these, we're going to pull almost straight up. And that's going to give us a leaf that stands on end. And these are going to pair perfectly with our little Russian tip tulips. For our Russian tips, we want to make sure that just like when we're doing a dot, we're just a little above the surface. You want the frosting to have room to come out and connect, and we're just going to let it connect and hold for a minute And then we're gonna pull up while we're still squeezing. When you're ready to end it, you just pull a little quicker. So think about increasing that rate, and it can take a little while to work out the timing. So do a little practice if you've never used one of these before. But we're gonna be above the surface, just a tiny touch, squeeze, let it connect, and then pull up while still squeezing. You can see that little pull at the end allows us to break away and give us a nice little tulip shape. And we'll just kind of tilt this so you can see, and you've got those cute little dots there in the center. And it may take a little while for your color pattern to emerge. Don't worry, it might be a little funny, a little off to begin with. Do a few practice, and that should get it flowing how you want it. We're gonna pipe 2 tiny daffodils on our nail to get ready for our cupcake project. And for this, we're gonna use the 101 tip with our yellow, and we've also got our orange with our number 1 waiting for us as well. And just like with a regular larger daffodil, we're gonna pipe 3 petals first and then go back and do 3 more. So think about making little triangles with these. And I just wanna set myself up, my back's ready, I'm in my lay flat position for my petals. So think almost flat with that. Fat end of my tip is towards the center, skinny end is out, and I wanna think about drawing a little diamond on each of these little spokes. So I'm just gonna come up, slide out, back, and towards the center. Beautiful. My paper's trying to slide around on me since I'm doing such a little tiny one. Gorgeous. So you can see we got those 3 little petals in there, and now we're going to do 3 more in the gaps, kind of on top, and that's going to help connect things together a bit. Just like we would with a regular daffodil, I'm going to give us a little dot there in the center with that number 1 and my orange, and then I'm just going to pull up, make some little spikes. And this is just going to give us a little bit of a second color on these and a little interest in the middle and help support the trumpet that we'll make next. We're going to go back in with our yellow and our 101 tip, and we're going to set ourselves up so that fat end is going to meet the surface and the skinny end is pointing straight up, and we're just going to do that little wriggle that we talked about. So just right next to the mound and those stamens that I did, just a nice, beautiful little trumpet for ourselves, and just go to get right back around in the beginning. And then we have a beautiful petite little daffodil. We're skipping the zigzag on the top on this one because that would just be a little too fine of a detail. We're going to go ahead and pipe a second one of these so we have it to finish our other cupcake with our plain tip swirl. And we're going to just slide them off onto a tray and get them chilled so that they're ready to place. So you can see I have already finished one of my little tulip cupcakes. And we start with our Russian tip. I like to start in the middle, do one, and then go all the way around the outside edge. I'm not going to worry if there's a little bit of a gap between them. I just want to make sure I get kind of close to the edge of that cupcake. And then I'm going to switch to my bag with my 352, and I'm just going to pull leaves that kind of go straight up. You can go in between the tulips around the center one and also around the outside edge to just fill in all that area. But I find it's easiest to do one in the center and then just work around in a nice tight circle. You can see it'll take probably about 6 or 7. If you do less tulips, you just end up doing more leaves. The idea here is just to take up the entire surface of the top of the cupcake and give ourselves a nice little pleasing look. Let's get started. I've got my bag straight up and down. My tip is just above the surface. Squeeze, let that frosting connect, and then pull up. And every once in a while, you might get a little problem with connecting. Don't worry, just kind of gently coax it back into place. And if you don't like it, you can always use your spatula and remove it. Every once in a while, that first one just doesn't want to connect too well. It happens to all of us. If you don't like it, just start over again. So just let it connect, pull up slowly, and then give it a nice pull. There we go. That one's much better, isn't it? Now I'm just going to come to the outside edge, Here we go. And keep pulling my tulips. They don't all have to be exactly the same height. Just try and get them on there. Nice and neat for yourself. Sometimes I find disconnecting a little jiggle does it and gives us a nice little look. And I don't mind if my little petals flop over a little bit and close them up. I've switched to my bag of green. It's got my 352 on it. I'm just holding my cupcake so it tilts towards the camera so it's a little easier for you all to see. I'm just going to go down anywhere there's space, a little gap, anywhere I can see that white, or I feel like I need a little extra connection just to kind of make sure that my frosting is supported and stands up. And then I'm going to go along the outside edge and do the same. So just squeeze a little leaf and pull up out alongside. Someplace you might need two if you have a little more of a gap. Just kind of go in anywhere it needs one and finish it off. And that'll give us a clean look from the sides too that goes all the way to the paper. Our next cupcake is our large daffodil, and this one we're piping directly on our cupcake, and you can see I've just used my 352 with my green to fill in a little bit where I had gaps in any petals, but we're following that classic daffodil. We've got our 104 down here, our 125 here. We've used our green with various tips to make our center, and that little number 1 to wiggle around there. So we're just going to start at the base and work up. So we're going to grab our bag of yellow with our 104 and start out with some petals. Got my bag with my 104, my yellow, and I'm just going to take a moment and just give myself a little bit of a marking on there to help me find the center of my cupcake and also help me with my spacing. So think about giving it kind of like thirds. It doesn't have to be exact, but just to kind of give yourself a little bit of a guide, because I can see I'm a little off there. There we go. So we have approximate thirds, so we know kind of where to pipe our petals and we're not just kind of free-handing it. And that'll help you kind of mark your spacing. And we don't have to be exactly in the center. We can actually pull out a little bit to help this cover more area. But same diamond-shaped petals, just go flat, slide to the point till you meet that paper, back and to the center. So we're going to start with 3. And then we'll go in the gap and fill in. So you can see I've got my first 3 petals down. I've taken up quite a bit of area, but there'll probably be a little bit of excess showing. Now I'm going to go in between those and pipe that next set. I like doing these on cupcakes because you can see the petals kind of fall over and rest in that kind of natural curve of the cupcake and with the paper. I've got my bag with my 352, and instead of pulling up, we're going to pull out like we normally would, and just anywhere where I've got a little bit of my crumb coat showing through and there's a little bit of edge, just a nice little small leaf, just something peeking out just to kind of cover up that surface area. Anywhere I need it, really quick, just go in there. Some of them can be tiny, just to kind of fill in the top of our cupcake for ourselves. I've switched to my number 3, and I'm going to do my dot in the middle. So just line yourself right up there in the middle of your cupcake and a nice big dot with your number 3. I've changed to my number 2, still working with my green, and I'm just going to come on top of my dot, pull a little spike, and then I'm going to go all the way around it. So this is just going to help give that center structure a little more height and help our trumpet stand up. Next, we're coming in with our orange. We're 45 degrees. Back of the bag is pointing towards my right shoulder and just straight up with the opening of the tip. And you can see I'm just going to give it that nice little wriggle as I turn, and that's going to lay on that trumpet. And if you need to, just pull out a tiny touch and flick it around to end it. And you can see that gives us a nice little center trumpet there that's standing up for us. We're going to finish off our daffodils with that nice little zigzag edge on the top. So we're just going to take our bag with our orange inner number 1 and just draw a tight little wiggly line on this top edge. And just think about hovering above the top edge of that little trumpet we just made and just wiggling back and forth as you go around and go until you meet up. Got a little bit of an uncontrolled line there at the end. So just make sure you touch lightly to end. I thought I got it, but I wasn't quite there yet. And that'll give us that nice little fluted ruffled edge on the top of our daffodil. Our final cupcake is our plain tip swirl, where we're going to put on our little petite daffodil. For this one, I'm just going to use my bag of green with my 352 to pop on a leaf, and that'll allow me to securely attach that little daffodil to the top with just a tiny touch of buttercream. But as you can see, it kind of blends almost right in and gives us the look of a little daffodil floating on a tiny swirl, which is fantastic. It's cute, it's petite, it's got some nice subtle shades. It's looking really lovely. We're also going to use a small offset spatula to help us place it so that we can get it in just the spot that we want. We're getting ready to finish this one, and I've got my flower out of the refrigerator. I just want to go in and put on a nice little leaf for ourselves, just something to keep that flower secure. And then I'm just going to slide my spatula underneath it and lift up gently. And then I can use my spatula just to get it right where I want it and slide it right off. And there we have our last finished style. And just a special note on the flowers, they won't take that long to firm up because they're pretty tiny and petite and delicate, but they'll also warm up really quickly. So when you're doing things with small bits like this, make sure you just take them out in rounds so you can work with them quickly enough without them warming back up on you and ruining all your beautiful work. Here we have our beautiful spring-themed cupcake set featuring some lovely daffodils and some Russian-style tulips. You'll notice the daffodil, it's bigger, it's bolder, it takes a little more work, and we're piping directly on our cupcake, but we've paired it with some easier styles, like those Russian tip tulips, which are really simple to bang out quickly. It's just a matter of taking your time to load up your bag and popping in some leaves to keep everything secure and give those flowers a little contrast. And then we've got some really simple sweet styles, like those tiny daffodils that look cute and petite and don't take as much buttercream, and they're still decorative and they're still lovely, but they're also kind of simple, and it gives your eye a little break when you pair everything together, when you've got some busier ones and something that's a little plain and a little more delicate. We hope you enjoyed this set of cupcakes, and if you like it, try checking out one of our other great cupcake sets, like our one featuring roses. And if you want some more practice on your daffodils, try checking out our original flower series video on our daffodils as well. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like more about the cake decorating materials and equipment we use, or just some inspirational videos about cake decorating itself, you can follow us on Insta or YouTube at Cake Decorating School. If you'd like to know more about yearly membership and what it entails, you can go to www.cakedecorating.school.com for more information. And if you're interested in these products, you can check the links in the description.